I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, is any of this for real? Or not?
Those were the first words we ever heard from him. Sora, a young teenager with brown spiky hair and big shoes. The kind of kid you'd pass on the street and totally not think twice about. He had no idea he was about to become complicit in something far darker than his innocent little mind could comprehend. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me ask you something. What would you do if everyone you'd ever known just disappeared? One night, everything's normal. The next morning, you wake up and your entire world has been consumed by darkness. Your friends, gone. Your home, gone. And all that's left is you, a key-shaped weapon you don't remember asking for, and a vague sense that somehow this is all your fault.
Whoa! Give me a break, Kairi.
Sora, you lazy bum. I knew that I'd find you snoozing down here.
No, this huge black thing swallowed me up. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't...
Nightmares. That's how it started for Sora. Dreams of drowning in darkness. Shadow figures with glowing yellow eyes clawing their way out of the ground. Dreams of a disembodied voice and his friends asking him very personal questions. What's most important to you? What are you so afraid of? But here's the thing about nightmares. Sometimes they're warnings. Sora lived on Destiny Islands, a small, isolated place. The kind of place where kids like him, Riku, and Kairi spent their days building rafts, talking about other worlds, wondering what lay beyond their tiny prison of sand and sea. They were building an escape route. They didn't know they were about to get exactly what they wished for.
A storm? Oh no! The raft!
Sora! Dinner's ready! Come on down! Sora?
Where's Kairi? I thought she was with you.
The door is open.
What?
The door is open, Sora. Now we can go to the outside world.
What are you talking about? We gotta find Kairi.
Kairi's coming with us. Once we step through, we might not be able to come back. We may never see our parents again. There's no turning back.
That's Riku. Cocky smile, gray hair, even though he's only 15 years old. The kind of kid who thinks he's invincible but doesn't understand that some doors should stay closed. The night they planned to leave, something came. Creatures made of pure shadow and malice. Yellow eyes glowing in the darkness. The Heartless. They appeared out of nowhere, consuming everything. And what they consumed just stopped existing. Erased, as if it had never been there at all. In the chaos, Sora watched his best friend choose the darkness. Saw him reach out his hand, smiling as the shadows wrapped around him like old friends. Don't be afraid. That's what the voice told Sora in his dreams, and when the time came, a key. The Keyblade. A weapon he never asked for, chosen for something he didn't understand. Kairi? She just vanished. Her body dissolved as she ran toward Sora, like she wasn't even real, erased from existence. But Sora didn't have time to process that. His entire world was literally falling apart, getting swallowed by a void of nothingness. When he woke up, he was in a place called Traverse Town, a city where people who'd lost their worlds ended up, a city of refugees, survivors, some of whom watched people they loved get consumed by darkness and they couldn't do anything about it. This is where Sora met them, Donald and Goofy, court magician and knight captain of a place called Disney Castle, sent by their king, who had mysteriously vanished, to find the key. They needed Sora, he needed them, a marriage of convenience motivated by desperation and loss. They also found some Final Fantasy characters, Yuffie, Aerith, and Sid from Final Fantasy VII, and then Squall from FF8, but he prefers Leon in this universe. the first part of his last name? Kinda weird.
When the Heartless came, everything changed.
The Heartless?
The ones who attacked you, you remember?
Those without hearts.
The darkness in people's hearts. That's what attracts them.
And there is darkness within every heart.
Hey, have you heard of someone named Ansem?
Ansem. Just a heads up, he's about to get really important. Anyways, they made a deal. A 14-year-old boy, a duck with anger issues, and a dog who'd been indoctrinated into following orders. These three traumatized individuals decided to fly a rocket ship between worlds, hunting for a door that supposedly held all the answers. Also, lost puppies. What could possibly go wrong? Let me read you the private journal entries of a man named Ansem. From what I could gather, he was both a ruler and a scientist. He believed himself to be a seeker of truth. I believe darkness sleeps in every heart, no matter how pure. Given the chance, the smallest drop can spread and swallow the heart. I have witnessed it many times. Ansem was obsessed. A lot of villains become obsessed with fame or power. Ansem was obsessed with knowledge, with understanding the human heart. And when you become obsessed with understanding something like that, you might eventually convince yourself that any method is justified in pursuit of that understanding. It is my duty to expose what this darkness really is. I shall conduct the following experiments. Extract the darkness from a person's heart. Cultivate darkness in a pure heart. Human experimentation. That's what we're talking about here. A man who took living people and tore their hearts apart to see what would happen. And what happened? The experiments caused the test subject's heart to collapse, including those of the most stalwart. How fragile our hearts are. My treatment produced no signs of recovery. I confined those who had completely lost their hearts beneath the castle. He destroyed them, shattered their minds and souls and their very essence. And then he confined them, locked them away in darkness beneath his castle. Out of sight, out of mind. But that's not even the worst part. Sometime later, I went below and was greeted by the strangest sight. Creatures that seemed born of darkness. Are they truly sentient beings? Could they be shadows of those who lost their hearts in my experiments? The Heartless, the creatures that destroyed Sora's world and consumed countless lives across the universe. Ansem created them. Not intentionally, perhaps, but through his arrogance, his unquenchable thirst for knowledge. He opened a door that should have stayed closed. And when he realized what he'd done, did he stop? Did he try to fix it? No. They seemed to multiply after absorbing something from the living creatures. Their prey vanishes without a trace. I believe the Heartless are taking hearts. He observed, took notes. He turned his victims into research subjects, documenting their transformation into monsters, like somebody who'd convinced himself he was doing important work. Though they lack emotions, they do seem to have some intelligence. How to communicate with them? It's just occurred to me. Could they be the darkness in people's hearts? He's fascinated, almost proud. He's created a plague that's consuming reality itself, and he's treating it like a breakthrough discovery. And then, he goes deeper. I picked one out for observation. It wiggled its antenna and, as if sensing a target, headed deep into the castle. Suddenly, a strange door appeared. I'd never known of its existence. It had a large keyhole but didn't seem to be locked. So, I opened the door. The door. The heart of the world. The thing the Heartless were searching for all along. And Ansem? He opened it. Because of course he did. He's already destroyed dozens, maybe hundreds of lives in pursuit of knowledge. What's one more door? What I saw on the other side mystified me. What was that powerful mass of energy? That night I observed a great meteor shower in the sky. Could it be related to the door that I have opened? Yes, Ansem. Yes. It was related. You opened a gateway between worlds, and pieces of your universe started falling apart, raining down on other worlds like shrapnel from a bomb you detonated. But here's the twist. I have built a device that artificially creates Heartless. By recreating the conditions that spawn the Heartless naturally, I should be able to produce them artificially. So, he built a factory, a way to mass produce the creatures that were destroying worlds, and he marked them, tagged them, so he could tell his artificial Heartless apart from the natural ones. What kind of mind does that? What kind of person sees the apocalypse unfolding and thinks, how can I make more of this? My path is set. I shall seek out the wielder of the Keyblade and the princesses. My body is too frail for such a journey, but I must do this. I will cast it off and plunge into the depths of darkness. The princesses, 7 young women with pure hearts, hearts without a single drop of darkness. Ansem decided they were the key to ultimate knowledge, to becoming all-knowing, so he hunted them across multiple worlds. Young women and girls who had no idea they were being targeted by a madman who'd proven he had zero regard for human life, and his body was failing, probably from all the experiments he'd been conducting on himself. So what did he do? He abandoned it, discarded his physical form like a worn-out coat, and became pure darkness, pure obsession given form. This is the man hunting Sora, Kairi, and Riku, a scientist who murdered his way to enlightenment and convinced himself it was noble. Where do I start with Sora's journey? I guess I'll start with Wonderland. We have a girl named Alice. You know the story. She fell down a rabbit hole, ended up in a bizarre world where nothing makes sense, and then she's put on trial for attempted theft and assault. The prosecution? A screaming monarch who sentences people to beheading for fun. The Queen of Hearts, a tyrant whose entire legal system is based solely on her personal whims, and in this world, say goodbye to appeals and due process. We get arbitrary justice ordered by someone who seems to enjoy causing suffering. Sora entered when Alice was about to be executed for crimes she didn't commit. The witnesses? Non-existent. The verdict? Already decided.
And the reason is? Because I say so, that's why!
That is so unfair!
Well, have you anything to say in your defense?
Of course! I've done absolutely nothing wrong.
She hadn't, but that didn't matter. In Wonderland, innocence is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is power. Sound familiar? But let's move on to somewhere that's a little less surreal. Deep jungle. A guy who was raised by gorillas. Tarzan, a human who'd never known civilization, living in harmony with nature, and then civilization arrived. Clayton, a hunter, Jane Porter's expedition guide, the kind of guy who introduces himself with a smile and a handshake while secretly calculating how much money the gorillas would fetch at a zoo back home. What? No, I'm not trying to hunt the gorillas, but they're so rare, I'd just like to get a look at them. Right, Clayton, right. And when Tarzan was finally comfortable enough to lead the group to the gorillas, Clayton raised his rifle and fired at a young gorilla. Missed by inches. When they confronted him, he didn't even apologize.
You don't understand. I was only trying to. A snake slithered by. You see, I saved that poor gorilla's life.
A snake. He nearly killed basically a part of Tarzan's family, and he invented a snake. After that, everything unraveled fast. Jane and the little gorilla were abducted by Heartless. The other gorillas were rounded up at gunpoint. Clayton loaded his rifle and aimed at the gorillas. What killed Clayton in the end wasn't even Sora, really. It was more like his own darkness. He had bonded himself to a big invisible chameleon, and when Sora finally destabilized it, the creature fell directly onto Clayton. Tarzan's final verdict on the whole thing was blunt, as usual.
Clayton, lose heart. No heart, no see friends.
In Agrabah, Jafar, the royal vizier, known for hypnotizing the Sultan and trying to force Princess Jasmine into slavery.
Jasmine, allow me to find you more suitable company, my dear princess.
In Atlantica, a mermaid named Ariel was manipulated by Ursula, an exile with a grudge, into betraying her own father. Ursula wanted power for revenge, and she was willing to use Ariel to get it.
And I couldn't have done it without your help, my dear.
Ursula, no! I didn't want this!
That's one way to rub manipulation in someone's face. And Ariel's father, King Triton, he wasn't much better.
Ariel, you've disobeyed me again. I told you not to leave the palace.
A controlling parent, one who, when his daughter sought independence, destroyed her most precious possessions in a rage.
How could you?
How could he? Because he could. He believed his authority justified the invasion of privacy and violation of trust. Everywhere Sora went, he found the same pattern. Adults using non-adults and abusing power. Well, except for Monstro, but we'll come back to that. But nothing prepared him for Halloween Town. Oogie Boogie, a creature made of bugs wearing a burlap sack as skin. His hobby? Kidnapping people and torturing them for entertainment. In the movie, he captured Santa Claus, tied him up, planned to drop him in a vat of acid while making jokes about it. But Oogie wasn't the only disturbing part. There was Dr. Finkelstein, a scientist who built an artificial woman, Sally, stitched together from parts, patched and repatched, animate but not quite alive in the way anyone would choose. To give you an idea about her existence, in the movie, she has a habit of poisoning the doc with nightshade just to steal a few hours outside the lab. And in the game, Finkelstein's first mention of her is less than warm.
Sally? Sally! Good for nothing girl. Don't know why I bothered creating her.
He needs her memory as an ingredient for the artificial heart. That's the extent of his interest in her now. That's normal life for Sally. Are you starting to see the pattern, though? This was a tour through a universe of normalized abuse, where the powerful preyed on the vulnerable, and the only thing stopping them was this 14-year-old boy with a magic key and severe untreated trauma. Riku and Sora. Best friends since childhood. At least that's what Sora thought. But friendships require equality, mutual respect, trust. What Riku and Sora had was more like a toxic dynamic wrapped in nostalgia.
It's just, I've always wondered why we're here, on this island. If there are any other worlds out there, why did we end up on this one? And suppose there are other worlds. Then ours is just a little piece of something much greater. So, we could have just as easily ended up somewhere else, right?
I don't know.
Exactly.
There it is, that subtle put down, like Riku just had to establish dominance and make Sora feel small and directionless. And it worked. Throughout the game, Sora was constantly questioning himself, trying to prove his worth to Riku, measuring himself against his friends' expectations. After they separated and their world literally fell apart around them, what did Riku do?
Now, child, it's time you awakened that power and realize your full potential.
Maleficent, a witch who orchestrated the destruction of multiple worlds. She was helping Ansem hunt the princesses. She was manipulating Riku since Sora arrived in Traverse Town. And Riku? He knew this. He knew she was evil, but she was offering him power, a chance to be superior to Sora, and he took it.
But Sora, I thought you liked games. Or are you too cool to play them now that you have the Keyblade?
Not exactly how you talk to a friend, but Sora made excuses for him, because that's what people in toxic relationships do. They rationalize. They find reasons why the hurtful behavior is actually okay. Meanwhile, Riku was actively working against them. When he showed up in Neverland, it was an ambush. By this point, Riku had already found Kairi and was keeping her close, treating her like leverage in a negotiation Sora never agreed to.
Are they that important to you? More important than old friends? Instead of worrying about them, you should be asking about her.
Kairi!
That's right. While you were off goofing around, I finally found her.
Goofing around. That's what Riku called fighting through Heartless infestations across multiple worlds, sealing keyholes, trying to hold civilizations together with a magic sword Sora didn't ask for. Goofing around.
You're stupid! Sooner or later they'll swallow your heart!
Not a chance. My heart's too strong.
Riku!
I've picked up a few other tricks as well. Like this, for instance. You can go see your friends now.
He fell through, while his own shadow, animated by Riku's borrowed darkness, hunted him through the ship. He's testing how far he can go before it stops being a game. And when Sora finally confronted him, well, he wasn't exactly Riku. He was an imposter making a claim.
Kairi! Kairi! Open your eyes!
It's no use. That girl has lost her heart. She cannot wake up.
What? You're not Riku?
The keyhole cannot be completed, so long as the last Princess of Heart still sleeps.
The princess? Kairi's a princess?
Yes. And without her power, the keyhole will remain incomplete. It is time she awakened.
Whoever you are, let Riku go! Give him back his heart!
But first, you must give the princess back her heart.
What's...
Don't you see yet? The princess's heart is responding. It has been there all along. Kairi's heart rests within you.
Kairi's inside me?
I know all that there is to know.
Tell me, who are you?
It is I, Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness. So, I shall release you now, Princess. Complete the keyhole with your power. Open the door. Lead me into everlasting darkness.
Sora! Forget it. There's no way you're taking Kairi's heart.
He fights. After that little scuffle, Sora worked out the math himself and he acted on that conclusion, with little to no hesitation.
If we can free her heart... But how? A keyblade that unlocks people's hearts. I wonder...
Sora? Sora! Hold on!
He did it. Sora stabbed himself, saved Kairi, and what happened? He turned into a Heartless, became the very thing he'd been fighting against. That's the fate awaiting anyone who loses their heart in this universe. You transform into a mindless monster that exists only to consume more hearts and create more monsters in an endless cycle of suffering. Luckily, Kairi returned the favor and saved Sora.
Sora? Is that you? This time I'll protect you. Sora!
Kairi, thank you.
Sora!
So, her Princess of Heart powers restored him. But he should have died. He stabbed himself in the heart. 7 women. 7 princesses of heart. Pure hearts with no darkness. Sounds beautiful, right? Special. Chosen. Let's talk about what that really meant. These 7 were hunted, marked by Ansem and Maleficent as keys to opening the door to Kingdom Hearts. Their purity became a target on their backs. Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Alice, Jasmine, Belle. Although Sora was very close when Alice and Jasmine got captured, the princesses spend most of the game off-screen, gathered and imprisoned in Hollow Bastion by the time Sora arrives there. The game doesn't dwell on how each was taken. Somebody somewhere decided that might be pushing it too far. What we get is the aftermath. 6 women in chambers, encased under a sleeping curse.
Oh, purest of hearts, reveal to me the keyhole!
Living conduits, lined up against the walls of a hall, glowing on command. That's the function they serve in this particular story. And then there's Kairi. Kairi's situation is different, and worse. Ansem's reports establish that he was hunting for the key-bearer, Sora, and he needed bait. I have chosen a girl. I don't know if she holds the princess's power, but I will find out. She may lead me to the key-bearer. I shall set her free and observe. He's running a controlled release on a test subject. Let it go, see where it goes, and see what it attracts. Wait, so Kairi isn't from there? She was sent to Destiny Islands as a variable in someone else's experiment? Huh. By the time Sora actually finds her again, she's just a shell. When the islands fell, I guess her heart fled into Sora, the nearest source of light strong enough to protect it, and what's left behind is like a bad case of Mako poisoning. You know what? Scrap that. That's a whole can of worms I don't dare opening right now. Point is, this girl's consciousness relocated into someone else's heart for safekeeping, while her body gets passed between people who all have their own plans for what she's worth to them.
So, Kairi's like a lifeless puppet now?
Precisely.
When Kairi's heart finally does return to her, torn out of Sora, which, like I said, should have killed him, she wakes up just in time to watch him disintegrate in front of her. So what's her arc at this point? Vanish, be carried, be discussed in third person by everyone around her, wake up in time to watch the consequence of her own rescue. In the end, the Princesses of Heart were all victims who happened to survive. Kingdom Hearts, the heart of all worlds, the ultimate power. Ansem sought it. Maleficent sought it. They all believed that beyond the door to darkness lay infinite knowledge and power. And they were right, at least in the sense that Kingdom Hearts was real. The door existed, deep in the end of the world, which is a graveyard of destroyed worlds.
Gorge, is that all that's left of the worlds taken by the Heartless?
Those worlds will be restored if we beat Ansem, right?
You betcha!
But if we do beat him, and all these worlds become restored and disconnected, what's gonna happen to this place? And to us?
This is a Heartless world, so maybe it'll just disappear.
Huh?
But no worries. Even if this place goes poof, our hearts ain't going nowhere.
The end of the world feels like a tear in reality where all the destroyed worlds go to die. Floating fragments suspended in nothingness. Pieces of civilizations that used to exist, now just debris. Sora, Donald, and Goofy fought through it. Giant behemoth Heartlesses, endless waves of shadows. They descended through a massive crevasse with crystals scattered about, and then they found the ruins. A series of portals on platforms that felt like you're inside the mouth of something. And these portals led them to fragments of the worlds they just saved, like ghosts haunting the space between spaces. They fought through a seemingly endless horde of Heartless until they broke through to a sandy chamber. And there, waiting for them, a door. Not the door yet. This door leads to a place that acts like a reminder of where this story started. A voice from his nightmares. The voice that had been guiding him since the beginning. Destiny Islands, his home. The beach, the clouds, the waves lapping at the shore like he'd never left. But something was wrong.
This world has been connected.
What was that?
Tied to the darkness. Soon to be completely eclipsed. There is so very much to learn. You understand so little. A meaningless effort. One who knows nothing can understand nothing.
This was psychological warfare. Ansem showing Sora his home being destroyed in real time, making him watch it die again. And Ansem was still wearing Riku's body, still using the face of Sora's best friend to deliver his monologue.
Take a look at this tiny place. To the heart-seeking freedom, this island is a prison, surrounded by water. And so this boy sought out to escape from his prison. He sought a way to cross over into other worlds, and he opened his heart to darkness.
Riku!
Don't bother. Your voice can no longer reach him where he is. His heart belongs again to darkness. All worlds begin in darkness, and all so end. The heart is no different. Darkness sprouts within it. It grows, consumes it. Such is its nature. In the end, every heart returns to the darkness whence it came. You see, darkness is the heart's true essence.
That's not true! The heart may be weak, and sometimes it may even give in. But I've learned that deep down there's a light that never goes out.
So it started with victim blaming, telling Sora that Riku's possession was Riku's fault, that wanting to leave Destiny Islands to see other worlds was what invited corruption. Then, the man who turned hundreds of people into experimental subjects and hunted princesses across the universe, he had the audacity to lecture Sora about the nature of hearts. And then Sora, standing on a corrupted version of what he understands to be his home, just tells the mad scientist philosopher that he's wrong, that despite everything he just went through, there's still hope. Ansem's response? Well, this is where the final battle begins. Ansem summoned Guardian, a Heartless that seemed attached to him. The battle was brutal. The Guardian protected Ansem, annoyingly taking blows meant for him. That's Phase 1. Phase 2 was like a chunk of the world was removed, creating a sort of fighting pit. Inside, the dark side rose from the ground, the thing he'd fought when this all began, full circle. When Sora defeated it, the world went dark.
What?
Behold the endless abyss. Within it lies the heart of all worlds. Kingdom Hearts. Look as hard as you are able. You'll not find even the smallest glimmer of light. From those dark depths are all hearts born. Even yours. Darkness conquers all worlds!
This was what his enlightenment looked like. He studied hearts so obsessively that he became a monster that was basically the physical embodiment of his philosophy. Sora, Donald, and Goofy floated around it. They were swallowed by portals into dark rooms filled with waves of Heartless. They had to destroy organs of this living nightmare to escape each chamber and return to the exterior. And eventually, they fought Ansem himself, the final part of the final battle. Here, it was clear Ansem was trying to break Sora down and reduce him to nothing. But Sora had something Ansem never understood. Ansem understands subordinates and test subjects. But Donald and Goofy were people who chose to fight alongside Sora, actual friends at this point. And when it finally exploded, leaving Ansem floating in the void, he still didn't understand.
It is futile. The Keyblade alone cannot seal the door to darkness. Kingdom Hearts, fill me with the power of darkness. Supreme darkness.
You're wrong. I know now, without a doubt, Kingdom Hearts is light.
Light. But why?
Whoa! Stop staring and keep brushing! Huh? Heartless! Hurry!
I can't.
Don't give up! Come on, Sora! Together we can do it!
Okay.
Majesty!
Now, Sora, let's close this door for good!
Close that truck!
But...
Don't worry! There will always be a door to the light.
Sora, you can trust King Mickey.
Now! They're coming!
Donald, Goofy, thank you.
Take care of her.
You said before, I'm always with you too. I'll come back to you. I promise.
I know you will.
And Kairi was gone, returned to Destiny Islands alone. In the end, Kingdom Hearts, whatever it is, was sealed. The Heartless threat diminished. Sora, Donald, and Goofy remained separated from their home, wandering between worlds, searching for Riku and Mickey and a way back to Kairi. The worlds restored themselves. Shooting stars filled the sky as each world returned to its proper place. In the cave on Destiny Islands, Kairi found something from before everything broke apart. Sora's drawing of himself giving her a star, a palpu fruit, a promise of shared destiny. She cried and she drew herself giving him one back, because that's all she could do. That, and hope that somewhere across the infinite universe, he was still alive and still trying to find his way back to her. Not exactly a happy ending, huh? Let's recap what actually happened in this story. The scientists conducted human experiments, creating world-ending monsters. Multiple civilizations were destroyed, countless people were consumed by darkness, transformed into Heartless, and condemned to exist as mindless predators for eternity. 7 girls were hunted, kidnapped, and used as living keys. A teenage boy was manipulated into sacrificing himself. His best friend was possessed by a mad scientist and is now trapped in some kind of hell. Another friend lost her heart and nearly ceased to exist. And Sora? He's still just a traumatized kid with a weapon he doesn't fully understand, wandering through space, searching for people who may already be dead. His support system? Just a duck and a dog, both pretending they're fine.
I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, is any of this for real? Or not?
The answer is, it doesn't matter. Real or not, the experience was real. The trauma and the scars happened. Sora will carry them for the rest of his life, however long that lasts. Because sure, he defeated Ansem, but Ansem did create something that creates Heartless. And his research? It's still out there. Reports, machines and discoveries. Someone, somewhere can just find them, read them, and think, I can do this better. I can control them. And it'll start again. The cycle of experimentation and abuse. The cycle of people convinced that the ends justify the means. Sora stopped one threat, but not what that threat already set in motion. And until someone does, there will always be another Ansem. Here's the question this game left me with. What are you willing to do to fight darkness? And more importantly, when you fight darkness, how do you avoid becoming it? Sora's still figuring that out. But hey, at least he's got a dog and a duck. That's something, right? This has been The Heart of Darkness. If you or someone you know has been affected by the themes in this story, please know that resources exist. You're not alone. You're not a Heartless. You're not nobody. You are somebody, and you matter. Even if you have to remind yourself of that every single day. I hope I didn't ruin anyone's childhood. That wasn't the goal. I played the game recently, long after I kind of forgot what even really happened, and I just tried to take it seriously. Like, what if I treated these characters as real people dealing with real things? Some say the story sucks and it's pointless, yada yada yada. But for some, I think the story resonates because there's something honest here. Something about how we process trauma or cling to broken relationships. How we convince ourselves that saving others is worth destroying ourselves. Kingdom Hearts is a game about light versus darkness, but sometimes the most important question is whether the people fighting can survive what they had to become. Thanks for watching.